Good evening, everybody. It's already dark in Germany, and we are now starting with the presentation of the International Master's Programs at Nürtingen-Geislingen University. Let me just share a presentation with you. I just have to change the window, and here we go. Yeah, Nürtingen-Geislingen University. We are a German university located in the southwest of Germany. And we are a university which is also located on two different campus locations. You see this map here on the slide, and if you just look at this little button, Stuttgart, which is the capital of the state of Baden-Württemberg, you can see that our two campus locations, Nürtingen and Geislingen, are located directly in this region around Stuttgart. This is important because the region of Stuttgart is supposed to be one of the strongest economic regions in Europe. We call it an economic powerhouse. There are companies located just around the corner that you probably all know, like Mercedes-Benz or Porsche, and then Bosch, but also even fashion firms like Boss and many others. It is an enormously dynamic region, and a region which is also permanently in transition and change when it comes to the economic structure. And the university is a traditional German University of Applied Sciences, which means nothing else than that the academic teaching and the character of the programs is very, very much tailor-made to the needs of the labor market, very applied and very practically oriented. Let me just give you a short idea on the different locations where we are. Nürtingen, the place where the university was founded, is urban or has an urban structure with 41,000 citizens. It's located directly at the river Neckar between Stuttgart, the state capital, and Tübingen, which is a very old and traditional university town in Germany. We're glad that we are close to everything that has to do with urban infrastructure, like the International City Airport is around the corner. We have high-speed train connections to Stuttgart, and the city itself is located, directly at the river Neckar, but also pretty close to a mountain region called the Swabian Alps, with a lot of opportunities for sports or recreational activities. Nürtingen itself is pretty old. It dates back to medieval times, has a very nice, small, historic medieval city center, and location-wise, the whole region is pretty cool because when you take a car or a train and you travel 2 hours to the south, you are in Switzerland, and if you travel 2 hours to the east, you are in France, and 2 hours in the other direction, you are already in Munich, and to all the different Bavarian landscapes as well. Geislingen is our second campus location, 45 minutes away from Nürtingen. And here we have a business school with very, unique and very, business world oriented degree programs from various kinds. How did it all begin? The university here was founded 70 years ago as a pure agricultural engineering school. And then later, new programs were added and the university expanded into different and new disciplines like planning disciplines, and then starting already with the 70s in the last century with business school and business studies programs. Since 1972, the university is really renamed and restructured and became a University of Applied Sciences. What is that? Well, University of Applied Sciences are different from the traditional research universities with a very, very strong focus on basic or fundamental research. Universities of Applied Sciences are much more oriented in applied teaching and programs that are really oriented to the labor market and the needs of the local businesses. We do research, of course, but it's a different approach when it comes to research. Research at our institution is very much concentrated on certain projects that come from the businesses around or different enterprises and the needs of certain branches. In 1988, the university expanded, and since then we run 2 different campus locations with distance in between of 50 kilometers. Since the beginning of the 2000s, the university is renamed and rebranded also. We have now a profile which is very much focused on business studies and everything that has to do with economy, and at the same time the environmental issues and everything that has to do with ecological issues and ecological challenges. So basically, we carry the principles of sustainability already in the name of the university. Economy and ecology. The social pillar is something different. I come to this later. And today, we are famous and also proud on our very innovative approach when it comes to teaching and certain research concepts. The university runs 32 different programs on the undergraduate and graduate level. And since 2016, so more or less 6 years ago, we integrated also a private school for arts therapy. And since then, the 3rd pillar of the sustainability model is also part of the university's profile, which means the social pillar in a way. Right now we have around 5,600 students that are enrolled on the 2 different campus locations. 140 professors are taking care of the needs of the students, and we have more than 400 lecturers that we hired on a part-time basis. These are people that are engaged in academic teaching, but they are not on a full-time position at the university. They basically come from companies, institutions, and also associations that we are connected with, and they do this part-time teaching for the university. As I said, 32 academic programs, 15 of them are on the graduate level, which means different master's programs, and this is exactly what we're talking about today. The profile of the university, I mentioned this already, is very, very strongly based on sustainable development. This is something that you see everywhere at the university. There is not one single academic program in which you will not find certain modules that deal with the challenges of sustainable development and also with the issues and also the problems that have to do with ecological challenges and tasks for the future. The mission of the university is clear. It's called Education for Responsibility. And this is again a mission which is built on certain pillars. Responsibility means, of course, responsibility for the environment, so responsibility also for the economic world, and sustainability, responsibility for the society. I will now give you a very short introduction into the different schools or departments of the university. First of all, here in Nürtingen, there's a School of Business and International Finance with different undergraduate and also graduate programs. Two of them will be mentioned later in the individual presentations of the program deans. Second, there's a School of Agriculture, Economics, and Management. This is the traditional wing of the university. This is where we really came from. We started as a School of Agriculture, and from that discipline, all the other academic programs and faculties were developed. There is now also in this school a program of international management, MBA, which will be introduced later, and then certain programs that deal with agricultural and nutrition issues. The School of Ecology, Planning and Therapy is also a very, very important part of the university, because here we see two pillars of sustainability being fulfilled in the profile of this school. You know, ecology, that's easy, of course, that there's a very major issue when it comes to questions of sustainability. And then the planning school that deals with urban development, with landscape architecture, nature preservation. And in addition to that, the three different academic programs of the arts therapy faculty, or well, a discipline basically. These are the new programs that were integrated into NGU in 2016. There's a School of Business and Law at our second campus location in Geislingen. This is different to the business studies programs that we offer at the Nürtingen campus, because all the programs that are offered at Geislingen are tailored to the needs of certain branches, which means the mobility and automotive sector, real estate management, health, tourism. These are not general management programs. These are business studies programs that really target a certain economic branch. What is the, let's say, one of our tasks, or one of our, you know, the promises that we give to our environment and to ourselves? It's this very applied approach when it comes to teaching, but also in research. And here you see on this slide the certain elements that all add up to this very applied approach that we follow. All of our professors, of course, have a very solid and a very sound academic education, which means all of them carry a PhD degree, but at the same time, all of them look back on a professional career with a duration of at least 5 years outside of the university. So this is this combination between academic experience and then a very strong professional background coming from the outside world. All of our degree programs require internship modules or internship semesters. This is a very, very unique mark of our institutional background. So the students are on campus for at least 3 to 4 years when we look at the undergraduate education, but they spend during their studies at least 6 months outside of the university in a required internship semester. This is a very, very strong focus. And in the center is, of course, or are the needs of the practical business world. Lectures, topics, projects, all this come from outside into the university and will be managed by the different degree programs, and all together with case studies, business games, and professional projects. We run an academy for further education with tailor-made programs for students, but also at the same time, they organize external part-time programs for people that work and want to study in addition on a part-time basis to increase their chances for their career or just being able to do the next step. We are very, very strong in our international engagement, which means we run partnership programs with at least 100 universities all around the globe, and also different exchange programs on certain levels. We tried also to cater the social needs of our students by providing enough housing facilities and dormitories, and also providing learning environment for individual work to our students, something which is incredibly, or was incredibly important now during the times of the pandemic. Well, as I said, a very applied, a very practical oriented approach when it comes to teaching and research. And in addition to that, a very strong connection to certain institutions, to companies, to all the big names that you know from the German industries. So this was a very short introduction into our university, to the approach and to the profile of the university. And we will now carry on with the presentations of the individual master's program that are taught in English and are open to an international target group of students all around the globe. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the presentation of the master students of NGU, Nürtingen-Geislingen University. My name is Gerhard Schmücker. I'm the Director of University Communications, and I'm very happy now to start this evening's presentation with our International Master in Landscape Architecture. This is one of our first, or it was one of our first master's degree programs, and it belongs to the discipline of planning and environmental design. The program is offered in English together with our partner from Bavaria, and NGU offers this program already since 20 years, and we just celebrated the 20th anniversary. Now, let me please welcome Dr. Ellen Fetzer. She works for the program and in the program from the very beginning, and she is, among other things, also responsible for the whole e-learning requirement and long-distance projects. Now, Ellen, you are, and she is, a very enthusiast when it comes to international and cross-border collaboration. She organizes international study programs and research projects for the program, and she's also a champion when it comes to establish European mobility programs. So, Ellen, it's your turn. Please give your presentation.
Hi, yeah, good to see you. So I can share my presentation. Is that the idea?
Sure.
Then I can just, So here you see, I hope you see everything. Is that okay? I guess so. So I hope you see my presentation. So welcome everyone to a program which is really very dear to me. It's all about landscape architecture. I hope this resonates with you. It's one of the very few disciplines that came actually from the United States back to Europe, which is not actually the usual case. So here you see our students on one of the many study trips we are doing because we think that the European landscape is really at the core of our program. European landscapes in their diversity of identities, cultural heritage, natural challenges, and of course, opportunities for people and nature. So it's usually that our students are, having multiple approaches, methods to understand these landscape systems, to reflect how they might develop in the future, and to translate these into scenarios and concrete measures which might be taken to have more sustainable landscapes in the future. So there's a lot to do, a lot to observe. It's a global topic. So of course we invite students to come here to Europe, to Nürtingen, and to our partner university in Freising to have this reflection. But I think the methods and the topic that we are using are really transferable to the rest of the world, which is also reflected by the diversity of students we have who come from all over the world to join us here. Because we are very much, I believe that the United Nations agenda for sustainable development is very much close to our approach, especially the goals that are related to sustainable cities and communities, climate action, of course, life on land, but also, of course, partnerships for the goals, good health and well-being. All of this is somehow a value that we need from our landscapes, from our environment, and landscape architects are in charge of making sure that these values are still there today and also in the future for the next generations to come. So it's really a core sustainability discipline, I would say, and we are really, I think, very much identifying in this. As Gerhard already mentioned, we are two universities. Our partner is called Weihenstephan-Triesdorf University. They are placed in Bavaria, in very beautiful north of Munich location in Freising. And as already said, it is really a long-term cooperation. We benefit a lot from the competences of our partner universities. So this is really a synergy of shared forces, different locations, and for the students, it means if you apply, for example, now by the 15th of November, you would actually go and study at our partner university in Freising, because that batch of student would then stay there. And if you apply 1 year later, then you would study here in Nürtingen-Geislingen University. It just means that the teachers are actually then coming to the respectively other location, but the batch of students usually stays in one location. Yeah, so here you see we are here in Nürtingen, as you know, south of Germany, more in the west, and our partner is close to Munich. So both are really culturally interesting regions with a high economic potential, and most of our graduates are actually staying in the region after graduation, which is also nice to see. This is our team. Our program dean is Professor Roman Lenz, who is a landscape ecologist, and and you see also Ingrid Scheck and Stefanie Huber, who are our colleagues respectively in Freising. So we are a team of 4, and we make everything happen to give students a good experience, a good learning experience, and also to be part of the community is also at our heart. So what does it mean to deal with landscape? As I mentioned, so we have this idea of landscape unlimited. So it's really in the first place understanding what are the sustainability challenges in our environment. So to understand the system, to understand how it evolves and what might be the conflicts of the future. And this is, of course, getting more striking now that we have issues like climate change, biodiversity decline, social issues, digitalization. So there's a lot of transformative forces for society as a whole. And this is, of course, also impacting on the landscape. So it's about understanding the systems, but not just to remain with describing what is there. It's also to translate things or to translate this knowledge into alternative futures for these landscapes and to show how it might look like. As you can see on the designs here, it's just glimpses of how an alternative reality could look like, because this is at its heart an engineering discipline. So people who come to our study program, and this is maybe important for you to know, usually have a first degree in architecture, urban planning, landscape design, landscape architecture, or regional planning. So it's, let's say, spatially related disciplines. There's, of course, sometimes it's really broader when the people come even from public art or from agriculture or from agronomy sometimes, but actually the core of the people that are studying here have a background in these so-called spatial planning disciplines. So, and we follow the idea that landscape architecture is an umbrella term which is concerned with planning, design, and management, and there's a European agreement on this. We are closely connected to other European schools through the Erasmus program and other networks like the European Council of Landscape Architecture Schools, and that is greatly fertilizing the program. So when you come to us, you will also connect to many other European universities by being part of the program. So what we really want to achieve among the students is that they get an understanding about what planning and design in Europe means. And of course, we do this from an international perspective because it's an international team coming from all over the world. But of course, they are concerned with European landscapes, being it, of course, the landscapes around our study locations, but not just that. We usually travel a lot around in Europe. So students are getting to see at least two different European landscapes with which they will engage either through a project, a design studio, or maybe a thesis. So it's really about getting about learning how to transfer methods and approaches to really different contexts. And this, of course, is a very important competence that we want to achieve. But next to that, we think that master students in landscape architecture should also be able to have some management functions. So this is, of course, something that the program prepares for, that you take leadership in project processes and communication in the team building as well. And of course, what is special here is that the teams are composed in interdisciplinary teams. Of course, not that interdisciplinary as you would maybe have in a real sustainability program. So it's still interdisciplinarity within the planning disciplines. But of course, on top of that, you have the intercultural component. So students learn a lot actually to work in a very diverse team, so to say. And by going through that, there's a lot of personal maturing, I think, which develops in this process. And we try to accompany this as much as possible. But you see here also is a little bit that, of course, it's not just about understanding from the methodical point of view what are the problems and the system challenges and how to come to solutions. It's also to design the solutions and to show how this design will actually change reality. So what you see here is actually an outcome of a main project in the second semester. When, of course, the students have come to their final design, but they would also visualize it to have a communication tool and to show how the new reality might look like. And of course, this has an aspect of digital technologies, which is a field which is advancing really fast, of course, but we have integrated this into the projects to make sure that people are able to train and apply these aspects. So in brief, so how is the program composed? We have these 4 pillars, which we call planning and project management. I just mentioned this, information technologies, planning and design methods, and international planning and design. So these are these, let's say, the theory or methodical modules, which are the core of the program from a theoretical point of view. But all of this is always applied in projects and design studios, and also in the master thesis, which is then at the end an independent study. So this is how things are interrelated. And we just want to make sure that the project is always at the heart of what students are doing as an integrated challenge. It's an integrated landscape sustainability challenge that needs to be resolved. And the other modules are just supporting those the project approach to make sure that there's good solution. So this is how the program translates into sort of a schedule. So if people are applying by mid of November, then they would join in the follow-up summer term, which is usually starting mid of March. You have the 4 theory models that you see here and the main project. And the same is in the second term. So this is actually 1 year of, say, intensive campus-based activities. And then students would follow up independently with their master thesis. So sometimes they stay on the campus, or they go, for example, to the place where the thesis is going to focus on, which might be in their home countries. But there's still one elective course which we do accompanying to this, and this is usually also supported by digital tools. So this would be then on campus for the next year and the year after, again in Nürtingen, in our place. Yeah, so where do our students come from? And so this is just a picture of, I think, since the beginning, we have really, a kind of a global focus. There's, of course, always places like the African continent where there's not so much mobility yet, but usually it's the Americas, of course, Europe and the Middle East, and Asia and South Pacific. So it's really a mix of people from around the world. And what I think what unites them all is they come from the areas where, let's say, the city of the 21st century is being built right now. So this is actually where the environmental transformations, the rapid transformations, which we have been undergoing in Europe like 100 years ago, this is kept happening right now, and they see these changes in the environments, and usually they come with the motivation to learn about how to deal with these changes and how to have a more sustainable urban development or economic development. So with that mission, we have a very good reason to communicate and to work together. And as I said, we do this in these kind of European projects. So this is here you see the people. And of course, we show them our landscapes to make them, of course, understand what nature-based solutions are, what an ecosystem is as the basis of life, and how to design with that for a sustainable future. And there's interest in this. Of course, last year it was still possible to meet, and this is actually how the course started this year, because of course, with the COVID, we had this hybrid mode, but we step by step go back now to normal. I hope it will be like that. And here you see a little bit with these little parts where we have been working with students. So it has been really all across Europe. We usually support this with the so-called Erasmus program. And behind all of these little arrows, there would be a university partner behind, or municipality with whom we work. So it's usually, it brings actually students together also with stakeholders and communities and students and experts from the location. So they get really an in-depth understanding of what are the landscape issues. And this is just a few pictures of of what it means when you go into the middle of Romania, where you have, of course, a different rural landscape than in central Germany. Yeah, and these are just examples of outcomes. We take part in or we send students or encourage them to participate in competitions. This was for the Sava River, which is the largest river in Croatia, in Zagreb. This was a peri-urban park in Bergamo, Italy, which had to be designed. Here we see an entire green infrastructure system for the city of Pula, a coastal town in Croatia. Or what you see here is master thesis work, sort of final degree work, which also got awarded by the Bavarian branch of the professional association. So there's also award-winning projects, like for example this one, which is a green infrastructure system for the city of Lodz in Poland. So you see here that students also come and translate and transfer the knowledge they gained to their home countries, which and we learn a lot, of course, through that about different locations in the world when students take us in their research work to these places. So this is really a fantastic engagement. And here you see that was a project competition for the north of Munich and the transformative spaces there. Oh, here we were actually in a transboundary situation, which is also very typical for Europe, because we have so many different states and small states. So this is actually at the let's say it's at the western edge of Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia, and this has a direct boundary to Austria. So it's actually the situation that you have the urban core of a European capital directly bounding to the rural, to a rural edge of Austria. So these two spatial realities are coming together. There's a national boundary national boundary between, and the question is how could you have an integrated landscape development across these boundaries. That was also an interesting project 2 years ago. Yeah, so here just in a nutshell, we start every summer term. And then you have these 2 semester on-site, really intensive work, and then you have the thesis, or you do an internship. So usually our students are also doing the internship. So it's actually 2 years. Usually they stay with us. Application is always on the 15th of November. And from the entry requirement, it should be a basis in the spatial planning field. So here it says bachelor degree in landscape architecture. This is of course a bit exclusive. Usually when you look at the global audience, people come in with a background in architecture, spatial planning, urban planning. And sometimes when people have maybe a horticultural or landscape development agronomy background, which is also sometimes in the Middle East, especially quite close to what landscape planning does here. So sometimes, and usually we check people's background to see if it has equivalence with what we expect as the entry requirements. So we check this carefully, and sometimes it's also in combination with what you have done maybe in practice or your motivation that we can actually open this also up a bit more broadly. But that's basically it. And of course, the teaching language is English, and so the level B2 needs to be shown upon application, and on that basis then we cooperate. Yeah, it's and this is our website. It's emla-campus.eu. This is the shared website of the program. And as Gerhard said, we had 20 years anniversary actually this year. And you will find on the website a very nice compilation of pictures of the last 20 years. And you get actually quite good impression of what it means to study in the IMLA. It's, as we say here, it's actually more than studying. It's being kind of part of a community. So, and this is, for example, just the summer festival which we hope will come back, these kind of events at our partner university in Freising, who have a wonderful ornamentary garden actually to demonstrate plants. Yeah, that's all from my side. And I think there was the idea to leave a little bit room for questions. So I will just stop my presentation here probably and see what else remains to be said.
Perfect timing, Ellen. Thank you very much. We have some minutes left. There's not, at the moment, we do not have a comment in the chat section. So I just want to ask you a question on the different international projects that you run. I know from the past that you've been with your students, for example, in the Baltic states, but also in Romania, on the Balkans, in the Middle East. And you just showed us some very impressive examples of the student projects that you run. So how do you get these projects? Are there certain key regions that you select, or is this depending on certain tasks that you know and projects that might be open for, student work?
Yeah, I think what we touched upon, or we tapped into this field of sustainability competences or competence development for sustainability. I think this has advanced us a lot. So of course we have this core competence of what we think landscape architect should do. So of course you have to understand design spaces. So of course what they have in common. But if you want to move ahead, it's also about making these systems more sustainable. So we tap into the field of participation, public participation, how to involve people, how to work in social innovation, social entrepreneurship, how to have really integrative design approaches. So these are actually the new fields, and around these buzzwords, somehow we design cooperations. So we have a long-term cooperation on integrative planning and design, which is about really this idea of understanding this system and then translating it down to a strategy and a spatial transformation. And we do this since 2013 with partners from Romania, Estonia, and Belgium, and Italy. And we do it now on water landscapes. Before it was on coastal landscapes, before on urban peripheries. So it's always also typologies of landscapes which are typically challenged by transformation. So this is what we focus, let's say, in the planning disciplines. Then in the interdisciplinary field, we look into social innovation. So here we cooperate with people from the business disciplines, from regional development. And it's really also about understanding what is a value proposition, what is a cooperation, what is the business model. This is extremely interesting for people coming from the developing world, I would say, or from the global south, where you don't have an agency for sustainable landscapes. You need to build this on your own, and you have to have business models or cooperation models to find resources. So students find this extremely interesting. And then the field of public, of participation and democracy is also very much sought after, because our students come very often from, let's say, from places which are maybe not that fundamentally democratic, I would say. And they're really interested in how to build bottom-up cooperations, how to raise awareness, how to make agency, so these type of things. And we have a cooperation on that as well with European universities. So somehow we are circling around on these different sustainability headlines. And since the entire Erasmus program is moving towards education for sustainable development, it's a never-ending story, I think, if we start with it. So we have already a pipeline. We started a new project on landscape economy now. So now we really want to merge the two seemingly competing fields and just think about how can we use actually economy to make landscape sustainable. That's now our hypothesis. We will start now, really now. So let's see where this really does.
Well, and quite a challenge also. You just mentioned earlier that your students or your graduates are forming something like a community. It's more than just studying, it's like a community. So how about your alumni? Are you still in touch? Do you run something like a alumni network?
Yeah, we have a LinkedIn group where we invite everyone to join that, so that works quite well. And then we see that the students are increasingly staying actually in Stuttgart or in Munich, or they somehow work in German landscape offices. And then we try to invite them to show actually the new batch of students what it means when you make the transition from the studying to entering a German office as a Vorgänger, which is always kind of an adventure. It's getting better because also the offices are changing. They're getting younger, they're getting more open, they're more global themselves. So this has changed really positively now. And so we try to link actually the graduates this way, so they show how this transition works. Yeah, this is, I think, how we do it usually. And we have a lot of online activities, as you already mentioned. So part of our seminars, which are run in cooperation with European partners, can actually be joined online. And we usually often invite also graduates to give maybe some inputs from their experience. So there's a group of people, of landscape democracy enthusiasts, for example, who always follow even years after the program. So we still have them somehow on the team. Yeah. So these are the different things. Yeah.
So you can offer your international graduates also job perspectives in Germany.
Yeah, of course, this has to do with the situation in Germany, which is really about the shortage of experts, which is, of course, everywhere. And so that works actually quite well. Of course, it's of course different. I mean, when you really want to become a landscape architect in Germany, the professional requirements are quite strict. But so if you want to have the title, but to work in an office, that's usually quite okay. It works now.
Easier.
Easier, yeah.
Okay. Well, you just had your 20th birthday. Well, program.
Yeah, for the program.
How about the plans for the future?
Yeah, I think, as I said, we have tapped into these sustainability subjects, and this seems to be like an ever-growing thing. So when you start one, you already have new topics. So so that's, I think, evolving well. And I think we will continue this strategy of having, let's say, these open curricular windows where you can actually tap into the program as a different discipline or as a foreigner, even if you're not enrolled. So I think this openness, we will keep that. Definitely. And from the development perspective, I think what we realized is I don't know how fast we can implement this, but maybe having only also a digital, let's say, sister of the IMLA program, which is really addressed or which is addressing students who are in their territories. Because we know it's of course an effort for people to get to come here. They have to find the resources. There's many people maybe who need this knowledge who cannot afford to come. So I think we won't change the program this one, but it could be, I think, a task to develop maybe a sister program which is running somehow online and then maybe addressing people in the field in those places that are changing now. So maybe this could be an option. We didn't discuss about it so much, but I think this would be a need, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, online teaching is now pretty much, fired up through the pandemic also. So we all had the experience in the past 1.5 years, of course, and everything was online, and now we are back on site teaching. Well, thank you very much, Ellen, and nice to have you here. Thanks for the presentation, and since it's getting darker and darker in Germany, and we are heading towards the weekend, I wish you a nice weekend as well. Well, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks, and I wish you a nice evening and good presentations here. Yeah, and and ciao to our international audience. Just join in. You're welcome. Ciao.
Bye-bye. Welcome back to the presentation of the master degree programs of Nürtingen-Geislingen University. We are now approaching or getting closer to the next discipline, we talk about sustainable mobilities. This is a master's degree program that we offer on our Geislingen campus location. And the slogan of the program that you also find on the website is called New Perspectives for Societies on the Move. This is a slogan that clearly shows the notion of this program. In short words, it's much more than just about transportation or mobility. It's about people. And it's also about the way that we live and work together in the future and also enjoy our lives in the future. And the best way to describe this approach is a quote from Sven Kesselring. He's the course director, and he will give you the presentation in just 2 minutes. He once told me, when it comes to mobility, we need social sciences. We cannot only leave this for the engineers. And this is basically what it's all about. And the master degree program, Sustainable Mobilities, tells you how to create livable communities and regions, and how to organize mobility in a world which is characterized by a post-carbon and a sustainable scenario. But now I leave the stage for Sven Kesselring. He's the course director, and he will present his program now to our international audience.
Thank you very much, Gerd Schmücker, for this wonderful introduction. Basically, you already said the most important stuff. I think it's indeed, I would say, if we talk about the future of mobility, the future of post-carbon mobility or sustainable mobility, we need to find new solutions. And I think this is exactly the process where the system of mobility is in right now. And the best way of doing this is to understand how people live and what is happening, how to study basically people's lives. And this is what we do in this program. Of course, it's also directed to what in the end will be the products, what in the end will be also the services, and how can sustainable mobility look like in the future. But in the first place, we need to understand how we can actually organize and do mobility in a different way. And I just need to change here to just a second. I really don't know why it always looks differently. Because now you see the presentation mode, I guess. I need to try it again. I'm really sorry, but
that's not a problem. Just take your time. Yeah, I think this is the presentation mode.
This is the presentation mode. And I need to switch to the, before I could actually switch to the, I could duplicate. That doesn't work anymore. How is it now?
I still see 2 screens.
Let's see. So this is the thing about technology, right?
Yep.
The future of mobility has a lot to do with new technologies. I can't move it to the other side. Now I can. Okay. I think now it should work, right? Yeah, what I said, of course, it has to do with technologies. And if you see that picture here on the screen, you can see there is like different modes of transport. It's public transport, it's bikes. Of course, the future of mobility also has to do with individual modes of transport, like automobiles. You see the mobile phone probably as the most advanced technology, where we actually in the future will organize our daily mobility. We can book flights, we can book different modes of transport, car sharing, bike sharing, scooter sharing, all this what is called today micromobility. But there is also a hand in the picture. So it's all about the life of people, and why are we having this? Why are we developing all these things? For what kind of purpose? And before I'm getting to talk about what exactly is how the program is structured, I just want to show you in what kind of a context. Academic context this happens, and the university is, of course, it's two different campuses in Nürtingen and in Geislingen, and these are the master programs in Geislingen. So it's sustainable mobilities, it's automotive and mobility management, it's corporate leadership, real estate management, and restructuring and insolvency management. And between all these different master programs, there are overlaps and there are collaborations. We're working closely together also with the colleagues from automotive and mobility management. And this applies for the teaching, for the study programs. So we are exchanging lectures, we are organizing courses together. But that also applies in research, because sustainable mobilities is a research-based, and as Gerhard Schmücker already said, a social science-oriented master. So we're not talking about a pure social science master. You don't need to be a sociologist or social geographer or anthropologist or whatever. The program is open for many different disciplines, but in the core, it's the structure and the idea of the master program is social scientific, which means we put the people in the center. The human scale is one of the terms that we are using in our program and how we educate our students. So the Master in Sustainable Mobilities, this is what it's all about today. So what can you expect? I said an international master, and if I say international, I seriously mean international. It is based in Germany, but the language is English. All the teaching happens in English. We have students, I'm not saying from all over the world, but from many different continents, from many different countries. We have students from Africa, we have students from North and South America, we have students from Europe, from Asia. It's a seriously multicultural environment that the master is actually happening, but that doesn't only apply for the students, it also applies for the teachers. We have an international staff of teachers that I'm going to introduce later. What you can also expect is some key knowledge and skills in the field of sustainable mobility and transport. I think if you're interested in sustainable mobilities, you probably very, very clearly aware how many things are changing today, and that in the future, and I'm talking about the near future, about 10 years, 15, 20 years, the mobility and the organization of mobility in our daily lives will look quite different to today. So what we need to be able to work in this environment and to also to develop good ideas and good products for these new and rising markets, we need to be able to understand the trends and the developments, the logic that is actually happening there. And I'm always talking about that we are actually heading from a system of automobility to a system of multiple mobilities. What you also can expect is a collaborative and inspiring environment, teamwork, group work, problem-based research and problem-based learning in groups, in exchange with other students, with the teachers. This is actually basically our daily daily business in this master. So you're not going to learn isolated. We're not going to give you like a manuscript or a book that you have to read and to learn by heart and then reproduce. It is all applied learning in many ways, problem-oriented. It comes together also from the different backgrounds of our students plays an important role, because there is to solve the mobility problems and to be able to understand or to design solutions for sustainable mobility. We can use the different backgrounds of the students as an asset, and you will learn to work together, to collaborate with other students very closely, and with a huge benefit for yourself. So this is a strong asset. At the same time, our lecturers and our teachers in the program, they have a very strong emphasis on practice orientation. So we are a University for Applied Science, which basically means that we are in close contact with practice. And if I'm talking about practice, it can be companies, it can be public authorities, it can be NGOs, non-governmental organizations. All kinds of different practice partners show up in our program and help you to develop a good knowledge and a tailored knowledge, basically, for yourself to be able to succeed in the job market. What sustainable mobility teaches, I said already a lot about that. So I'm going to talk later about the structure of the program, which means that we give you a lot of knowledge, background knowledge. So mobility theory, concepts, and different approaches to understand what is actually happening there. Social science research methods for market and future research, and for solution design. Design thinking is quite essential for our program. Many different tools, many different methods how to approach solutions. Insights to technological developments in mobility and transport. You're aware that the whole discussion about electric mobility, about hydrogen, about automated vehicles, about shared mobility, about all sorts of up to robot taxis and whatever, needs a certain understanding of the technological side of that, but we are not an engineering education. We are a social science-based education, which means we are able to understand these things, and we are able to deal with different forms of knowledge, also technical knowledge, but we are not engineers in that sense at the end of or you won't be an engineer at the end of this education. Problem-based project work and research I already mentioned, which means that specifically in the third semester, it has a strong emphasis on that you actually work on your own project together with other people, basically in a sort of a consultancy situation. A specific problem, normally we develop this together with with practice partners. So that in the end, you come up with a report, you present a report, you discuss that with people from practice, from public authorities, from companies, whatever it is. With the topics are always changing, and you learn basically how to present, how to communicate, how to transport the knowledge that you accumulated in this project to people who have a problem and they want to find solutions. Solution orientation is quite an important thing, and that applies also for the German students or German-speaking Germans. This is an international education, an education that trains you in speaking, writing, and presenting in English in Germany. If you come from outside of Germany, of course, you will find a quite international environment here. What do we expect from you? In the first place, curiosity and the commitment and the willingness to work hard for our own and for your success. Which means we are not presenting you like a compendium in that sense. So you need to work hard together with us, supported from the teachers to develop the knowledge that you want or that you need, basically, also to succeed on the job market, and to be curious in the way that you actually learn to look specifically driven by this specific problem into different disciplines, into different knowledge, that you get in touch with people that you do interviews, for example. You read a lot of stuff, you do some research on the internet, and so forth. So curiosity and an open-mindedness is quite an asset that you have. And you need to be able to participate in the courses, to discuss things, and to organize, self-organize, basically, your learning process. Always supported by us. We never leave you alone, but it basically means that you need to be able to structure your daily work and your learning journey, basically. What is needed from your side too? Good English. I think good English is mandatory. For those who intend to stay in Germany and work in Germany, it is absolutely mandatory to have good German language skills. And if that's your plan, never start too late. Start from the beginning, learning German. You don't need to be able to speak German because everything in our education is in English. But if you want to get in touch with practice partners, with companies, or people you want to work with, you basically need to be able at least to have a basic level in Germany. And you need to be willing to read. That is quite essential. That has to do with the social science tradition in our education. It's basically that you need to be able to read and to process actually a lot of knowledge that you accumulate, that you structure, and reading is basically the basic skill. So how is the curriculum actually structured? We have 3 pillars. The first is what I mentioned before, is that we actually give you the essential knowledge to understand what is happening in these changes, transformations of mobility that we observe these days. So you get basic social science of sustainable mobilities knowledge. You get knowledge about sustainable development. You learn something about innovation, change management, and transition management. So the links between society, economy, and mobilities, this is in the center of the first pillar. In the second, this is basically you get a decent, sophisticated, and significant method education in qualitative and quantitative methods. You learn something about future research, market research, mobilities design and design thinking, and how to investigate the future of mobilities. And the third pillar is this praxis orientation. I mentioned it before. We are a university for applied science that also mirrors in the program that we are actually working basically from the first semester to the master thesis in close collaboration with practice partners. That's the structure. How is that in detail structured in the courses, in the modules? So it's a modular system. In the first semester, it's basically what is here like 1.1 to 1.4 means that you get the essential knowledge together with the second semester, like basic knowledge for the mobility transition. In the second semester, there is a field trip that we so far did to Copenhagen, where we get in touch with partners and practitioners in Copenhagen, and you learn field work. So you get into the city, you ask people, you do interviews, you collect data, and then you learn how to evaluate that, how to analyze the data. And this is a quite dense package of basic knowledge in the first and the second semester. In the third semester, you can see that there is a strong emphasis on what is called problem-based research. So you basically, this is the core of this semester, is that you learn to design your own research. You design a study, like as an example, you're working in a consultancy and somebody gives you a problem defined. So you learn how to define that, how to use the method education that you get in our education, and to design a research process. And in the same semester, you also conduct the research. So at the end of this semester, you basically end up with a group work-based research report that you present to practitioners, that you learn how to communicate that, how to present that, how to discuss that, and also how to develop that further. Mobility solution design is in this semester also. It's from the first to the third semester and the topic. We have different electives, and in the fourth semester, the fourth semester is dedicated to the master thesis, and this has also to do that the master thesis in our education is not a nice to have add-on or like something that you have to deliver. It's basically, in that sense, the masterpiece. You develop your own research. The difference is to the third semester, you don't do this in a group situation. Normally, you can also write together with one person, for example, but normally the normal case is that you write this for yourself. And this is followed by a master colloquium where we accompany this process of writing the master thesis, reflect it, discuss it, where specific problems can be discussed, where you present your work and discuss that together with the other students. Then we support you in studying abroad. We recommend the third semester. Gisela Zimmermann, who's organizing this master program together with me, she's also the person in charge in the international office. So you have direct access to all the knowledge, all the information that you need there, and we support you. The same with internships. As far as we can, it also needs your individual initiative, but we actually support you in getting good interns and getting in touch with partners where you can actually spend the time in a company or spend the time in a public authority, for example. Very briefly, the team, I said it's an international team, and if I say international, I usually mean that. So Gisela Zimmermann and I, we are organizing this. I mentioned that before. Then we have teachers from Denmark, from Sweden. These are the colleagues, the professors that are working together with us on this program from the university. Then we have teachers from Ecuador, from Spain, and from Denmark. And this is changing. And in this semester, we also have a new teacher from the US. So you see, it's a very international team, and that also represents basically the different transformations and changes that are happening in the mobility world in different places in the world. These are the contact persons. Basically, you can approach me or you can approach Gisela Zimmermann if you need information. We are present on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Xing for the German students. And maybe last but not least, beyond the employment possibilities. There's a lot of places we can see that since we are not like a disciplinary, we are an interdisciplinary education. Our students, they basically end up in very different places. They work in ministries, they work in companies, they work in public authorities, in non-profit organizations, very, very broad approach. And you also get the essential knowledge and the qualifications to move on, for example, for a university career or for a PhD after you finished our education. Sustainable mobility is not only a very complex issue, it's also happening in collaboration with a lot of different networks. So we are publishing quite a lot. We are publishing also together with other partners in the world. We're organizing conferences. We do research. There is problem-based research that is happening with students where on specific topics. And one thing or one topic that is keeping us quite busy and where we are really happy about it is a new living lab. In German, it's called Reallabor. It's a living lab that is based in Geislingen, in Stuttgart, and in a small place, Waldburg, close to Ravensburg in the south of Baden-Württemberg, where we investigate how we can, from a bottom-up approach, develop specific solutions for sustainable mobility, specifically tailored for the communities, the neighborhoods living there, but also for the different contexts, the different urban contexts that we are having there. So all in all, I think sustainable mobilities is an interdisciplinary program that opens up a lot of opportunities for careers. And that is happening in a really well-placed and well-developed network. And we are very much looking forward to have you in Geislingen. Geislingen is a fantastic place for your education in a vibrant environment in the region of Stuttgart. And we look forward to working with you and to developing your perspectives together with us. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Sven Kesselring, for this presentation. This was just finished in time, but I think we still have time for at least one question. You mentioned already where your graduates meanwhile work, and that is also leading to my question. Is there a certain or a specific job market for your graduates? I mean, the challenges are there and the topics, of course, but how about these perspectives? And is it actually also possible for your international students to start their job perspectives in Germany, or are most of them going back to their home countries?
Well, that's actually, thank you very much for the question. I think this is a very good question. We can see both people going back to the countries where they come from and take the education that they got from us and work there in exciting places, basically, because it's a global topic. So the future of mobility, of sustainable mobility, all these new rising markets, but if we talk about platform economies, new forms of sharing modes of transport and so forth, but also this knowledge in what I would call strategic development or concept development, to be able to think about how like a public authority in a planning department, for example, is gonna develop in the future. This is knowledge in companies. You need to be able to look into the future and see these are the trends and where are they moving on and where is the place for the company in that and what are the products there. Long story short, we see actually both people staying in Germany, but we also see people going back to their countries and work there in Africa, in Asia, or in the US.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We are out of time. Thank you for your presentation. I think it was
welcome. Thank you much for having me.
Yeah, and all the best wishes for you now. I can tell our audience that you joined us from Denmark, from Copenhagen. The world is getting smaller and smaller. And thank you, Sven Kesselring. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. We are here on a field trip right now in Copenhagen, and thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome back to the presentation of the International Master's Program at Nürtingen-Geislingen University. We are now targeting a more international group of audience, hopefully. It's getting dark in Germany. Actually, it is already dark. Let's see who is going to follow us. I welcome very warmly Andreas Schittenhelm. He's the Dean of the International Finance Master's Program at our university. It's a Master's of Science with English as the teaching language, with a study abroad option integrated in the program, and also the option to go for a double degree or dual degree. So it's a highly flexible master's program, and graduates of the program become experts for the international financial world. Banking institutions, finance institutions, global acting companies, these are basically the target groups for the graduates, or the target job markets, let's put it that way. We talk about a program which is a combination of financial theory and very applied approaches of the global financial world. So I hand over the stage for the presentation of Andreas Schittenhelm. As I said, he's the director of the master's degree program, International Finance. So Andreas, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you very much. A warm welcome also from my side. And let's immediately start and get into our content for today. I will try to give you a short overview of Nürtingen-Geislingen University, and then of course focusing on the finance master, and then spend some time on career opportunities and the application and admission process of our international finance master. Well, for those who have no clue where Nürtingen might be, you see it's Nürtingen-Geislingen, actually two little cities in the greater metropolitan area of Stuttgart. And Nürtingen is about 10 miles just from the Stuttgart airport, from the international Stuttgart airport. And of course, Stuttgart is a metropolitan area with about almost 4 million inhabitants, offering all kinds of activities, starting from the Oktoberfest, wine festivals, and a lot of other things, but also outdoor activities are perfectly possible from our side. And of course, if you just look at the map, you will see that it's a perfect destination for traveling around Europe. Most of those places are very, very close. So for example, you can cross the French border in about 1.5 hours. You're in about 2 hours, you're in Switzerland. So there are a lot of possibilities. And of course, given the international airport just close to Nürtingen, you can have cheap flights to a lot of destinations in Europe. Well, the University of Nürtingen-Geislingen is actually a university of applied science. That means that it is very much orientated to the industrial requirements. All professors working for the university do have several years of experience in industry before they were appointed as professors. The university has been founded in 1949, and we do have about 5,000 to 5,500 students, with about 300 international students. International students are partly degree-seeking students, but some of them are also regular exchange students coming from basically all over the world. We have a large number of different full-time and part-time degree programs, both on the bachelor and also the master's level. As a University of Applied Science, we do have our focus actually on business and sustainable development. And just as a side remark, this is also something that you can expect from our finance program, that we do also have a reasonable focus on sustainable issues. The Stuttgart area is a quite safe area in Germany. So the study environment is absolutely safe. You will enjoy, on the one hand side, the possibilities of a metropolitan area such as Stuttgart, and on the other side, you can enjoy a smaller town as Nürtingen, with about almost 50,000 inhabitants, still with some medieval characteristics, and very, very pleasant surroundings that allows you to have many different outdoor activities. So some words to our university, or to the master program. It has been established in 2004. That means that it is a very, very old master program in Germany, at least, because we were actually used to have another form of degrees, which was called the diploma degrees. And the Master of International Finance is actually one of the oldest master programs that you see in Germany. It is a program with 3 semesters and 90 ECTS credits, so you can finish your studies in 1.5 years. As already mentioned, 100% taught in English, and we start once a year, always in October. One of the characteristics of the program is, of course, that we have rather small study groups if you compare to other universities. We typically have about 20 to 30 students who are attending our program. The program itself, it was mentioned here, is highly ranked and appreciated in the German market. And since we do have that tradition, of course, also well renowned from all companies in the financial sector in Germany. What is really characteristic about the program is that we really try to be very, very close to the requirements of industry. So we really try to provide you with all the necessary knowledge to be successful in industry, to find a good job and be successful. So some of the features that are coming with that is that we are very much application and solution orientated. We focus on ITC knowledge. We do have always applications with Excel, with MATLAB, and Python. We do have an approach that is closely related to all kinds of financial modeling. So we try to give you the chance to be really able to model and work with financial models. This is, of course, coming together with a certain focus on quantitative finance and quantitative methods. And we try to combine here, of course, not only the theory with practical approaches. For example, we also provide the possibility to become a certified derivative trader. And as last point, or last 2 points, the program is really characteristic by case studies and projects, a lot of group work, and active participation. Now, this is, of course, also something that we require and expect from our students, to be actively participating in our group work and some of the side activities that we actually provide. To give you a short idea of how the program actually looks like, we have typically so-called modules, and a module can consist of different subjects. So in the case of our first semester, you see that we have 4 modules. Those are financial management, management skills, financial analysis, and quantitative research. When you look closer to the different modules, then you see that, for example, financial analysis consists of 3 subjects: portfolio management, bond analysis, and equity analysis. And for example, when we come to quantitative research, you see that we do, for example, here something with MATLAB, quantitative risk management with MATLAB, just to give you an idea of how the program is actually built up. In the second semester, you once again have 4 different modules: applied international corporate finance, applied quantitative corporate finance, research in empirical finance, and derivatives in financial engineering. In the last module, you are actually prepared for this external exam to become a derivative trader. So those 2 semesters are done at our university in Nürtingen. So it's 1 year that you definitely have to pass with us. The third semester, the last semester, can be done also in Nürtingen if you want to, or also at another university abroad. So you have actually, as you can see here, 3 different options in the third semester. The first option would be studying in Nürtingen, a module that is called Innovation in the Financial Industry, where we pick up the new developments in the industry, or let's say not only in the financial industry, but in the industry in general. Of course, digitalization is not just limited to finance. And this is a module that consists of, as we say, 15 credits. You typically have a workload of 30 credits in 1 semester. So the remaining 15 credits, the remaining time is actually reserved for writing a master thesis. The second option would be that you actually go abroad as a so-called free mover, some university of your choice. Of course, it has to be approved, and the content that you study abroad has to be approved, and you will award 15 credits at that university as a free mover, and then, of course, again, work on a master thesis, which will be done at our university, of course. But it might be also done during your time abroad with an additional advisor from the university you're studying. The option 2 is often used to study for a longer period, and some of the students actually use option 2 to get a second degree from another university abroad. But option 2 is really based on free mover agreement. Of course, we do have a lot of knowledge from the past, from alumni who have experienced that. They might, of course, give you some advice on some of the universities which are suitable for studying abroad. The last option here, option 3, is actually a double degree option. So in contrary to option number 2, this option 3 is of course much more organized and formalized. So we do have, of course, an agreement, a contract with the University of Pisa for a double degree. The degree from University of Pisa, which you would be receiving, is actually a 4 semesters degree, so consisting of 120 ECTS credits, and therefore you do have to study 2 semesters, semester 3 and 4 at the University of Pisa. Just to point that out, if you take option 2 with a second degree, you would, as a rule, also have to study 1 extra semester. Otherwise, it is typically not possible to get a second degree. Yeah, the advantages with the University of Pisa are, of course, that the program is of course established, and you basically have a certain organization that is different to what you have in option 2 when you work or when you apply as a free mover, and the processes are maybe a little bit more challenging. Some words to the career perspectives and possibilities. Of course, with a financial degree, all doors are open, if you allow me to say that. Most of the students, though, of course, end up in some finance-related field. We have put some here: consulting, private equity, corporate finance, portfolio management, investment banking, mergers and acquisition, bank management, classical bank management, but also financial engineering, just to name some. Those would be the classical, probably, fields you would expect. Many of our students go to global players such as Daimler, Porsche, Bosch. Here we have just put the 3 biggest ones, which are located at Stuttgart. So, of course, all others are also relevant. So whenever you have those global players, of course, the financial department or also accounting department, of course, do have a size where there's a high need of qualified students, of course. But some of our students also go to some other departments. We have students going to HR, we have students doing marketing. So, as I said, yeah, no door is actually closed. The Stuttgart area is very, very much known for so-called hidden champions. So companies which are really, really very successful in their field, market leaders worldwide, but maybe not so much known because they are just working in a certain niche. This is an area where we have many companies in the Stuttgart area, probably the highest in the whole world. So, of course, apart from global players, you might be also interested in some of those smaller companies, which often do have a different atmosphere, working atmosphere, than global players. So there's something for everyone, as I would say. To the application and admission process, the deadline for the application is actually June the 1st. The application has to be done online via UniAssist. Of course, if you have questions, just refer to our staff, which you can find, of course, via internet. What you need is, as a previous degree, a degree in business law, economics, or management. The English proficiency is clear, I guess. It's not only that it is a formal requirement, but of course it's also needed just to be able to follow the classes. We also require a declaration of your study motivation, and at least some words to the fees. There are some administration fees that apply for everyone, 200 euros per semester, and for international non-EU students, there is an additional tuition fee of 1,500 euros per semester. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you very much. as mentioned, for further information, just contact our internet page and feel free to write an email if you have more questions.
Well, thank you very much, Andreas. We do not have yet any reactions in the chat, but well, we have visitors, obviously, but not yet any questions. I would just ask you a question that I asked you already this afternoon. Just again, you know, the study abroad option that you integrated in your program, it is integrated, but it's not mandatory. It's a voluntary decision to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Students can choose between continuing their studies in Nürtingen and going abroad. So this somehow fits a little bit to, you know, we have two types of students, of course, those who come from abroad and might not be so much interested in going to another country. And many of those international students in the past told us, well, now I wanted to come to Germany and I don't want to go somewhere else. And I'm happy to have that experience here. And then going abroad for some other place might make not too much sense. For the German students, though, and which are typically a third of the students, it might be a little bit different. So they might rather be interested in that option to go abroad. Yeah, but it's up to the student whether he prefers to stay at Nürtingen University or whether he goes abroad for just one semester or maybe also a double degree. Personally, I believe, of course, if you have never had any experience abroad, well, this is, of course, for the German students, it might be reasonable to go for one semester abroad. For the others, it's probably just interesting if you really look for a second degree. I would probably not just go if I have already the international experience, or if I come from abroad, I would probably not opt for one semester abroad, which is typically, of course, 3-4 months, a longer holiday travel.
Sure. You just mentioned it, that obviously 2/3 of your students are coming from various countries, so are international students. The university offers German language courses, not through your program, but from different institutions or service partners and international office, for example. So, but in theory, there's also a job market for your graduates, also for the international graduates. So if they have a decent command in German and your degree, the job market is more or less open. I mean, we have a dynamic job market in Germany at the moment. So there are options available.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the finance field, you can be almost 100% sure to find a job before you finish your studies. We rather have the problem that some of our students already work during the last semester and have difficulties to concentrate on their studies. So that's pretty normal. Of course, you need to apply. You have to be successful in a job interview. That's a little bit up to you. So we can only provide the education, but you have to perform during an interview and during your application, of course. But the job chances are perfect. They're also perfect if you don't speak any German. And here I would like to refer to your previous statement. It doesn't make too much sense to live in Germany without any knowledge of the German language and the German culture. This is why we strongly recommend everyone to study some German, to get a little bit used to the German culture. Do that just to have more fun, not for us, but do it for yourself. and we provide courses on that. And of course, you have to see how much you can do, but be open-minded to language and culture.
Yeah, and I think we know what we're talking about, because both of us, we all spend some time doing our academic education abroad. And of course, you can dive much more into your environment and into the culture, and of course, meet other people when you have at least some knowledge of the language of your guest or country. Well, Andreas, thank you very much. Was great having you. At the previous presentation, your colleague Sven Kesselring attended this presentation from Denmark. You basically were online with us from Italy. This is really, really a very international community that we provide on our relatively small university. It's great. It's a lot of fun. And to all of those of you who attended this presentation, just click on the link below if you need additional information. Everybody is available for you. Getting contact at the university is very, very easy. So again, thank you very much.
I thank you.
Enjoy your evening in Italy, and have a nice weekend.
I will. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So welcome back at the presentation of the International Master's Programs of Nürtingen-Geislingen University. My name is Gerhard Schmücker. I'm the head of communications, and I also have a guest in this presentation now. This is Jessica. She's a student from the International Management MBA, the MBA that we offer. And I'm just looking on my notes. The course director, Eskin Plunk, cannot be with us tonight. Meanwhile, in Germany, it's night, because he's attending the graduation ceremony of his program. So it's great to have Jessica with us, because she can, of course, give you information from her personal experience, because she's now already in the, well, you're still in the first semester, I'm
in the second semester.
You're in the second semester already. So,
yes.
Well, great. So let's talk about the International Management MBA. And Jessica dos Santos Pereira, that's her full name, is with us.
Yes.
Where are you from, actually? Which country?
I'm from Brazil.
You're from Brazil.
Yes,
now you
exactly. This long name is typical from Brazilians.
Okay, and now you're coming from hot Brazil, and now you're studying in cold Germany because
exactly
winter is in front of the door.
Exactly,
right.
really cold.
I will share the screen now and start the presentation. Here we go. And let me just switch the button to the screen. Here we go. Yeah, welcome to the presentation of the International Management degree. Yeah, our MBA, our International Management MBA, is a fully accredited master's program, of course, accredited by German accreditation institutions. But we received very, very good replies also from the business world when it comes to the quality of this degree program. Our degree program is usually organized by M.Eng Blunk. He's the director of the International Management program. And this is very typical for our university. M.Eng Blunk is a professor, but with a very, very strong professional background, and he is still active as a consultant, and he's still working for the professional world. So that gives you an idea of this very applied approach that we follow at the university. As I said, the program is fully accredited. I think we have a problem with the presentation because it doesn't move. I'm already switched the slides, but here I see still the opening slide, so maybe I just have to change something here. Okay, so you see the mission statement here. Yeah, I think I stick to this form of the presentation, otherwise we're running into problems and I cannot switch the slides. This is not what I want to do, of course. Yeah, and the mission statement is very clear. This is a classic MBA program. This is something that you all know from the Anglo-American university systems, a classic MBA, which aims basically to graduates from other fields, which means most of our students do not bring a business studies bachelor's degree. This program is open to people from the engineering field or from various other academic backgrounds. So, Jessica, what is your first degree actually?
Mine is engineering as well. So it's more industrial engineering. And it's really interesting because in my class, we have people from different areas. So the conversation and the experience is really interesting to know from different backgrounds. This is really nice.
Yeah, so as I said, a classic MBA, you all come from different academic fields, and now you basically are exposed to management skills and, of course, business studies, courses and backgrounds. So the basics of business studies, more or less. It's a very, very comprehensive curriculum that, of course, offers you key business administration topics, including then content from marketing, from finance, accounting, and controlling courses and classes. So, well, what is the special taste of our International Management MBA? I already mentioned the accreditation, but what is very important for the students, all of our professors have a very professional background. All of them, of course, have or carry a PhD degree. So this refers to a very solid academic and scientific education, but at the same time, they come from different areas of the industries or the business world. And like Erskine Blum, for example, all of our professors have at least 5 years of professional experience before they come back to the university. We follow a very blended learning approach with classroom sessions and also e-learning periods. I mean, this is something that now became really strong during the pandemic, when most of our students actually had to follow classes online. We are now returning to on-site teaching, which is of course very important, because this program has also a very international and a very diverse student body. You are quite an international community, Jessica, I think.
Yes, you're right. We have people from around the world, and it's really interesting to do this interaction in person, because we can talk, we can align and share experiences. So this semester is being much better because it's everything on site. So the experience is better.
And the students are back here?
Yes, all of them. They're back, not online anymore as the first semester was.
Okay. And how many students are you in your group?
30.
30. Mm-hmm. And from how many countries?
We have from almost all of the continents. So we have a lot of from Asia, from America, North America, South. We have from Africa, Europe, and only the ocean, like from Australia, we don't have anybody. But all of the other continents, we have at least one person from this continent. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, and the program relies, of course, on its own network, on its international network, and also on the network that the program has with many companies around here in the Stuttgart region. I mentioned this in the introduction already. We are located very close to the state capital of Stuttgart, and the region around Stuttgart is economically extremely dynamic and very, very strong. And it's home to many, global renowned companies and brands like Mercedes-Benz or Porsche and Bosch, and of course many mid-sized companies that are still international champions when it comes to global trade or being strong in exports. So I think this is also something that the students can directly profit from when it comes to internship options or running projects in various companies. Do you have already? Did you already have a project with a company in the region, or do you think of certain internship options?
Yes, we are doing working student, which is this kind of internship that we can work and study together. I think almost 80% of the students in my class are already working, because we can do both on the same time. And here the availability of jobs is really good. It's really easy to find something which is suitable with our experiences. And because we have big companies, and of course we have the suppliers of these companies which are mid-size. And when I have someone with experience and doing this masters is really welcome in the company. So I can tell you, because almost all of the students has already a job, and we can also profit and gain experience while we are studying.
Yes, and I have to mention that the labor market in Germany, first of all, is very dynamic, and especially down here in the Southwest. Unemployment rate is very, very low since decades already. And this is also something new. Germany had to learn on the global competition that, we also compete for talents, and that we have to compete for experts. And so the job market right now is relatively open to international students, and also the universities opened for international students. And that really has changed. and I hope you share this impression that Germany becomes increasingly attractive also to students from abroad. The international student community usually had not Germany high on the agenda when it comes to studying abroad. International students usually go to England or to the United States. Australia, of course, is extremely attractive, but Europe is, becoming a player in this field, and especially Germany has invested a lot when it comes to education or lecturing in English. This is also something that German universities become increasingly attractive and active, and this is also definitely true for NGU, I think.
Yeah, completely agree.
Okay, so here we are with this very applied approach that we follow. You see some logos of different companies in the region. These companies are directly engaged on campus and at the universities. First of all, we hire part-time lecturers from various companies. We have very strong engagement in the advisory board of the International Management degree program with representatives from various companies. And then, of course, you, together with your with the other students, you go on company tours and you have guest lectures from various companies, and you go on excursions.
Yes, this is true. And not only these guest partners, but also our professors. We have most of the professors, they are working for Daimler, Bosch, Decker, and so on. So not only going to the company to visit this, but also to have this in our lecture. They always share the experiences and tell us how it works there. So it's so interesting.
And you can learn something from that directly.
Of course, we can learn also in the practice, not only the theoretical part, but also how it works in the real life.
Yeah, and because of these very close contacts and this strong collaboration between the university and the business world, it's also relatively easy, first of all, to get internships. We mentioned this already, and to find a topic for your master's degree. For example, this is quite normal that the master's theses are usually written together with companies or at companies, or maybe in a co-working situation, whatever. This is something we do traditionally very strongly. Okay, so an overview on the program, and this is something you have to help me because now we really talk about the academic content. The program runs over 3 semesters, and of course, if you decide to go abroad or do an additional internship, you might end up spending 2 years here on campus. I think I switched the slide to this graphics here. We talk about these 4 different layers of academic content, general management, then the value chain, finance topics, and then language skills, quantitative methods. This is what we call the so-called context modules or context studies. In the 2nd semester, all this is basically shifted on an international level, in an international environment. So what you learn in the 2nd semester is usually something in depth on the international, in an international scenario. This is exactly the semester where you are in right now. Yeah. So
exactly.
And then the 3rd semester basically has to do with strategy and more in-depth topics in the whole international business law arena. And then, of course, the master thesis. I think this semester is very much dominated by the 4 months that you need to write and finish your master's thesis. So 3 semesters, very focused, but at the same time, very applied, and then always in connection with international topics and challenges. Is there something you might add, or?
Yeah, I think this is true. I think the 1st semester is really good to give us a ground knowledge. So you have something from basic mathematics, accounting, finance, everything a bit more basic. And the second semester, they have a step up. So then once you have the basic knowledge, you can apply this in an international market and also in a broader way. So I think the way the master is organized is quite good for the students from different areas can follow. Because, for example, in my class, I have people who has the bachelor in tourism. I have law. I have engineering. We have, I don't know, so from different areas. So the first semester is really important to have this ground knowledge and put everyone on the same line. And then the second semester is really intense, much more complicated, a lot of things to do. But then once you have this basic knowledge from the first semester, everything goes smooth. And yeah, it's really good with structured the thing.
How about the teaching load? Is that reasonable? Is this manageable? You know, when you take your classroom time, and you just earlier mentioned that you do also co-working, so you have enough time to do both things?
What happens in reality is if the student is not working parallel with studying, he can completely easy to finish in 3 semesters. But normally students are working because they want to have some money or so on. So it's quite common to have to do it in 4 semesters. So as the second semester, the workload is quite a lot. We have 11 lectures and it's really complicated. So normally we just split this a bit in the 3rd semester, and we have a 4th semester only with the master thesis that we can write together with a company. So it's quite normal for students which are also working to do it in 4 semesters.
You mentioned earlier the diversity in your group.
Yes.
Because that fits now perfectly. We have the first question here in the chat. Someone asking how many German students versus international students are in the class.
Okay, so it represents exactly 10% in my class. It's not a rule, of course. In my class, we have 30 students and 3 are Germans. Yeah, not that many. Most of them, they are from different countries. We have from Luxembourg, we have from Cameroon in Africa, we have from Peru, from Mexico, from a lot of countries, India and so on. But yeah, Germans are not representing the major in our class. It's only 10%.
But it's enough for you to also to get in touch with Germans and they mingle
yes.
you out, or you meet
yes.
people from Germany. So
we have a lot of contact because, for example, we have also elective classes, and elective classes are not only taking places for people from my course. We have people from different courses, so we have, of course, a lot of contact with Germans because elective can do from, I don't know, masters with everything. So normally we have Germans in these classes, and also during the activities that the university are making available. Or even when you are just eating at the Mensa or the restaurant, you're just eating there, then you approach some students. So this university is not that big, so it's really easy to contact other students. The communication is quite nice. I love this in the university. It's really
so you also have the feeling that you're welcome.
Yes, this is for sure. We are really welcome there. Germans, really nice to have this experience and this mix together. So yeah, it's really nice.
All right, you just mentioned the elective courses. The next slide basically is mentioning this elective courses. So when I interpret this correctly, you can basically choose these elective modules also from other programs. Is that right?
Yes, this is right. Also in German, if you have the knowledge enough to take one of the classes which are in German, not only those ones here, but also from courses which are in German, you can take it.
Okay. So it's
up to you.
It's a pretty flexible structure then when
it is
elective modules.
Yeah, they say that only one will take into account for your grade. So you have to say, okay, I will take this one to count in my CV, for example, but the other one you just attend as a student which are interested in learning. You don't have to do exams. So yes, it's pretty flexible. You can do as much as you want. And yeah.
Okay. Nice. And in addition to that, we offer also language education. So that means with our Academy of Further Education, international students or students from the program can join courses in German and in French, some other languages as well.
Yes,
some of
we
the
have
courses
Spanish.
of charge, I think.
Completely cost-less. It's completely for free. You can do Spanish, Russia, English, German, Turkish. We have several languages.
Okay. So how about you? When you came to Germany, did you speak German already, or did you have German background from Brazil?
I was studying before German, so here I did the B2 level with them, but I'm better reading and writing than talking. Talking is a bit more challenging for me, but yes, we have the class, so I took B2 level in the university.
Okay. So application is something challenging, of course. I'm totally off in this, so I leave this to you, because I know that we use this portal from Uni Assist, where you have to hand in or scan in your different documents and certifications and everything. Was that relatively easy, or is that a more bureaucratic, nasty?
No. I think with using this portal is quite easy, because they give you a list of all the documents you need and give you also the support in case you don't know what exactly document they are talking about. So for this portal was really smooth, the process. For this university, they only request you to do a cover letter, a motivational letter. I mean, just to explain why you want to do this master course. So this is the only document which was additional to the standard. It was quite easy to do the process, at least for me. I have no issue.
Yeah. Okay. So bureaucracy was
normal.
Yeah, manageable somehow.
Was manageable. Yes.
Okay. Well. Okay. Well then, here are some additional general information. You all know already the program lasts over 1.5 years. In theory, 3 semesters. You just mentioned you can make it, but if you do co-working or internship, whatever, you can also extend this program for another semester, which makes sense. I think if you get the option for an internship, that really is something, because it can also be a door opener to the German labor market. We mentioned this earlier in another presentation, that the job market in Germany right now is very dynamic. Companies are really looking for skilled people, and especially when they come with an international background and also here with a degree from a German university. Combination is perfect.
Yes.
There are some alumni statements. Alejandro from Colombia, actually I know this guy, I still remember when he was with us. And Marcello, also somebody from Brazil. They both to their countries are entering or starting their careers with this degree. Here's the contact details of the program. You can all find this when you push the button at the bottom of this presentation. And Erskine Blunk, the course director, together with Sibylla, she's working as an assistant and taking care of all the students. 20 years actually was just recently celebrated. This MBA program was one of our first master's programs, and I think the first that was aiming at an international target group and an international group of students. And well, the rest are all pictures and pictures from this event, of course. Yeah, people had a good time. I think that was shortly before the pandemic basically came to Germany. Here's a picture of one of a welcoming party already.
This one was with me already.
So you've been there. That was already during under the Corona scenario. You had to party outside and not inside.
Yes, everybody should prove that it was vaccinated or tested, but
but it worked and it was nice.
It worked. It was really good.
Okay, so how was it for you when you came to Germany? Did you experience a huge culture shock?
Yeah, for me it was a bit, I mean, for me the most challenging part was the bureaucracy, to do the Anmeldung, to organize everything with the Bonum and so on. But once everything is settled, I think Germany is a country which is really welcome to us. I was surprised with that. and I was really well received and welcomed. So no, it was not that many difficulties regarding the bureaucracies, of course. Besides that, was everything okay and smooth. So yeah, I think, and one thing that university is doing really nice is giving support. We have the international department, so in case you have some questions regarding the bureaucracy or regarding something else, you can just go there, they will give you the support for that. So I think to minimize all of this shock at the beginning is also interesting to count on the university.
Yeah, I think you just mentioned there's colleagues from the international office that really do a great job in catering
Yes.
the needs of the students.
They are.
Yeah, well, I have to admit we cannot change the bureaucracy around us, but at least we can do everything we can to minimize the bureaucracy inside of the university. And so I hope, and here definitely you get support from the international office. All right, we are running out of time. Jessica, is there anything you want to add?
I think, yeah, I mean, just to finalize this, I think it's a really nice master course. You can just learn a lot with different people and with different backgrounds. And one thing I really like in this master is because the average of the age is 28 years old. If you compare with other masters, it's a bit older this age. But this is something nice because most of them has a lot of professional background and is enriching our conversations and our work together. I think it's really interesting and it's worth it to do this master.
And of course, as a German university with an MBA program for international students, we do compete with many other institutions from other countries. What do you think? Is your degree, when you return to Brazil, for example, is that well received there from the Brazilian labor market? Would this degree help you?
Yes, for sure. It will make a really difference in my CV. To have a German degree in my CV will make a lot of difference. Cool.
So you don't think you have a disadvantage compared to a degree from an American institution or an English university?
No, I think the level of the German and the students, universities are really well recognized. So even in my country or other countries, they know the quality of the German university. So I don't think we are in any disadvantage compared to USA or other countries.
And it's cheaper.
This is a really good advantage. This is, I think, one of the nicest advantages because the quality is quite good. You're really welcome and it's cheaper. You can afford, and it's really easy to find a job, so it's perfect.
Okay, well, Jessica, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure to have you in this presentation. Now it's Friday night already. You deserve your weekend. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank
and
you.
Hope to see you soon, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, and have a good evening.
And to all the other guests and viewers of our presentation today, this is now the end of the presentation of NGU's International Masters Programs. I hope that we could answer all your questions, and I also hope that you got at least a decent idea about our campus location and how it could be to study here in Germany, and especially at Nürtingen-Geislingen University in the southwestern state of Baden-Württemberg. Yeah, this is exactly the complete description of our location. Well, thank you very much. And to all of you around the world, enjoy your weekend and see you hopefully in Germany. Bye-bye and good luck to you, Jessica.
Thank you. Bye.